Hello and welcome. My name is Mark, this is Riffle Shuffle and Roll, and today you're here to learn a little card game called Harvest. Harvest is a brand new card game submitted to me by subscriber Kyle King. It is a creation for the Board Game Geek 54 card contest, and I have links down below that'll lead you over to that so you can check out his submission and possibly vote for it. I also have links below for the write-up for how to play this game. There are some details that aren't hard to memorize once you play the game, but you definitely are going to want a bit of a guide for the first time through. Harvest is a card game for 2 to 4 players that for the purposes of this channel, I am classifying as a rummy game. I'm putting it in the rummy category because players are trying to collect sets or build sets of cards, and that is the main feature of rummy, meld building. With that said, the key features and mechanisms in this game are set collection and hand management. The objective for each round is to build and manage your fields as well as possible. The objective for the game is to be the player with the highest score. Anybody who enjoys card passing games like Sushi Go is going to find this game pretty interesting. All right, let's dive in and learn how to play. In order to play Harvest, all you need is a 52 card deck and 2 jokers. This demonstration will be done with Bicycle's Stargazer playing cards from 2016. Cards Ace through King can be broken into 3 categories. Ace through 5 are seed cards. Those will be used to start your piles, also known as your fields. 6 through 10 are tending cards. You will play one of these to your field after it's been seeded. Jack through King are harvest cards. These will be the final cards you play to the field, completing that pile. Jokers are assistants. They have a special rule and they will allow players to swap cards out from the village. To set up for the game, the dealer should shuffle all 54 cards and deal 7 to each player. We are going to play that the dealer is at the bottom of the screen. The rest of the cards are placed off to the side and will be used for future deals. Beginning with the player to the left of the dealer, at the beginning of a player's turn, they will first choose one card to put into storage. That card is selected and placed in what is called the house. The card should be placed face down. This is a way for players to store away cards that they might want to use in future turns. Second, each player will choose a card to place in the village. The village is the playing space in the center of the table. Players choose the card they want to contribute to the village and place them face up in the center. The village will come into play later. After playing a card to their house and to the village, a player will choose from a list of 5 actions. They may choose one action. Let's start by going over the 3 things that a player can do during the first turn of the game. First, a player can seed a field. Remember, the seed cards are Ace, 2, 3, 4, or 5. This player will choose to seed their field with the 3 of clubs. They place that card face up, and now this field or this pile must continue to be filled with club cards. Once they are done seeding their field, their turn is ended and play would pass to the left. It is possible that a player does not have a seed card in their hand, so on their first turn, they may have to just choose a card to play to the village. That is the second action a player can complete. They may play one card to the village. So this player chooses the King of Spades and plays it to the village. That would complete their turn, and play would pass to the left. The third option a player has, if they have a joker in their hand, is to play their joker. Jokers are called assistants, and what they do is allow the player to play the joker to the village and from it take one card of their choice. That card is then immediately played to their fields. If the card cannot be played immediately, they are not allowed to choose it. The fourth option a player has is to tend a field that has already been started. So in this example, the player has seeded a field with the 3 of clubs. If this was a future turn, they would be able to tend this field with a club card that ranges from 6 to 10. They have the 9 of clubs, so they could tend the field by playing the 9 of clubs on top of the 3 of clubs. That would end their turn and play would pass to the left. The final option a player has on their turn is to harvest a field. If the player had a harvest card in their hand that was the same suit as a field ready to be harvested, they could choose to make that their action for the turn. Here the player has a tended field in the suit of clubs. So if this was a future turn where they needed to choose one action, they could choose to harvest their field with the Queen of Clubs. That would complete the pile for the club suit, and in future turns, this player would be able to focus on their other fields. So after having played a card to the house and a card to the village, the player chooses one action to complete. For this turn, the player will choose to seed the club field with the 3 of clubs. That completes their turn and play passes to the next player. Player 2 also chooses a card to put into storage. They are going to place the Queen of Diamonds face down in their house. Next, they are going to choose a card to contribute to the village. They will contribute the 7 of hearts. Next, they have to choose from one of the 5 actions. So they are going to seed a field. They're going to use the 5 of hearts. That completes their turn, and play continues around the table. The remaining 2 players also follow those steps. A round ends once each player has taken their turn. Once that's complete, it's time to pass your hand. This is known as helping your neighbor. In a 4-player game, hands will be passed to the left after the first round, and then across the table after the second round, and then to the right after the third round. And then it will continue to follow that pattern until the end of the game. So at the end of the first round, players collect their cards and pass them face down to their left. After the cards have been passed, a new round begins. Players add their storage card to their hand, and play continues as previously described. Players will choose one card and put it in their storage. They will choose a second card and put it in the village. And then they will choose from the list of 5 actions. Each player does this, and cards are again passed. Play like this continues until there's only 1 card left per person. Here we are beginning what will be the final round for this deal. Players swapped cards across the table and then added their house card, their storage card, to their hand. They continue that cycle of keeping 1 card in storage, choosing one for the village, and playing one of their actions. This player must play a card to the village. And that will leave the player with 1 card. At the completion of this round, each player will only have the card in their house. That signals that it's time for a new deal. Here you can see each player has 1 card remaining, and it is their house storage card. The dealer takes the draw pile and deals 6 more cards to each player. In a 4-player game, this will be the last deal of the game. The number of players in the game will determine how many deals that there can be. You must be able to deal out an even amount of cards to each player in increments of 6, 4, or 2. Once there are no longer enough cards left in the deck for each player to get at least 2, there will not be any more deals. A full write-up for this explaining these little details is available. Links are in the description. For this game, there will only be one more deal, and each player will get 6 cards. There will be 2 cards remaining. They are simply set aside. Play continues with each player feeding a card to the storage, to the village, and choosing one action to complete. There are 3 ways to end a game. The first way to end the game is for a player to successfully harvest all 4 fields. So they will have a pile of hearts, diamonds, spades, and clubs. As soon as they accomplish that, the game ends. The second way a game ends is if all of the harvest cards in a single suit are no longer available for play. So the second that a jack, queen, or king of spades are no longer available for other players to use, the game ends. The third condition that can end a game is if the draw pile is depleted. So once a new deal is no longer possible, the game comes to an end. For this example, the current round that is set up would be the final round of the game. It should be noted that if a joker has been played to the village in order to swap out a card, at the end of the round, when it's time to deal, all of the cards in the village are put back into the draw pile. So if this were a live game here, all of these cards would be added back to the draw pile at the end of the round, and then there would be another deal possible. Once one of the end game conditions has been met, it's time for players to tally up their score. Players will only earn points for fields that have been harvested. A field that has not been harvested is worth 0. So in this example up top here, they only have a seed and a tending card. This field was not harvested, so it is worth 0 points. Down here we have a harvested field, a complete pile. Aces are worth 1 point. Numbers 2 through 10 are worth the number on the card. So a 4 would be worth 4 points, a 7 would be worth 7. Jacks are worth 11, queens 12, and kings 13. A field's value equals the sum of all 3 cards. So this field would be worth 22 points. So a game of harvest is meant to represent an entire season, from planting the field to harvesting the crop. The value of each card represents how many days spent in the field. So a player's total field value for all 4 fields cannot exceed 91 points because there are only 91 days in a season. So strategically, a player does not want to have 4 fields that are perfect. Here's the highest valued field a player could have. This is 28 points. If a player had 4 of these, their point total would far exceed 91, and they would have to remove fields from their point tally. So if a player's score is going to exceed 91, they must remove an entire field. So that forces the player to manage their fields. They have to be careful about how many points they play. Find that sweet spot of a high point potential, but without busting or going over the limit. The player with the highest score wins the game. If the group would like to play more than one season, write down the score for that particular season, bring all the cards together, pass the deck to the left, and deal out and start again. This game can be played over an agreed upon number of seasons or to a target score, like 365, 1 point for each day in the year. And that was how to play Harvest. If you've got a game that you would like to see featured on the channel, please send it to me via email. My email address is in the About section of this channel. I'd be more than happy to take a look and possibly get a video together for the game. I'd like to invite you over to my Reddit page. I post there about once a week with news and updates. And I'd also like to invite you over to the Traditional Card Game Discord channel. I have been on there almost every day talking to people that share interests with me, including classic card games and dice games and board games. It's a really neat little community, and I'm always able to find somebody to play cards with online. Also, if you're looking for a very convenient way to browse for new games, head over to GameRules.com. There you can search by different kind of category types like 3-player game or rummy game or trick-taking game, and it will give you a whole bunch of results. You just might find something new, and you might find a new favorite. All right, well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and remember to keep on playing.